Live. All right, and we're live. Hello, everybody. It is the Dark Conservatarian, and welcome back to another Strike Force News Edition. News Edition. Did I say Noose Edition? It sounded like I pronounced it like Noose.
I think everybody, we're gonna have to institutionalize DarkCon, and I will voluntarily take over his channel and subscribers, and I hashtag get well DarkCon.
Hello there, Lapis. How are you doing? As she joins us in the chat. Okay, so as you all heard, Trump has just agreed to open back up the government. Of course, ANCAPs are disappointed, libertarians or minarchists are meh on that, but everybody in the Democratic Party and to the left of the Democratic Party is pretty much, well,
jizzing their pants over it.
Yes.
That's the best way to put it, in all honesty.
So anyway, we shall, I have a few articles, two at least, that are talking specifically about the government shutdown. And then there's an article talking about how Trump's first 2 years have been a success. I mean, at least in apparently a conservative point of view, as the article reads. We are going to read that on more of an objective stance than a conservative stance. Well, objective, but maybe also more libertarian leaning, but as both me and S-Man are. And then got an article from My Two Cents talking about Prager use hypocrisy on government. So that should be interesting. You have a one person on the right calling out another person on the right. And bankers. Farmers need free markets, not government handouts. All right. So, you ready, S-Man, or anything you want to say before we get started?
To any leftists who are watching, I hope this makes you cringe a lot, as hopefully I don't know, I'm feeling spiteful right now, so hopefully the leftists in the chat hopefully they have an aneurysm over this, but
why are you feeling spiteful?
It's an inside meme. It's an inside meme I have with some of the lefties I know, but yeah, I'm just generally ready to get into the show, and it's interesting that finally I know what it's like to not live under a government shutdown.
All right. So, getting on with the program. USA Today, government shutdown to end. Here's what to know about the deal and what comes next. From what I heard, generally, well, actually, okay, so all the Trump fans, they're rather, what should I say, overly disappointed about Trump bringing back up the government and how he caved. But what I also hear from people trying to calm them down is that it's only a temporary deal. But we shall see what is going on with this. Is it possible to subtweet on air, says Lapis. I don't know what that is.
Subtweet. So imagine if I'm imagine if I'm tweeting about Lapis where I'm like, oh, headscarves are terrible. You wear them on stream, you're automatically a Muslim.
Mm-hmm.
And if you accidentally say Dark Coon instead of Dark Khan, you're automatically a racist. You know, she'd probably be like, S-Man, what the hell's wrong with you? That's what subtweeting is. Like you're talking about someone in a tweet, but you're not mentioning their name.
Okay. Heartless Soy Boy is in the chat, asks or says, I wish for an actual shutdown. All right. So this is a description of the video here, but we're not going to watch it. It says President Trump thanked furloughed federal workers for their devotion during the shutdown and credited them with helping to make America great again. USA Today. All right. Washington. The president announced a deal on Friday to temporarily, so I guess that is pretty much a fact, is that the shutdown is only ended for a brief point. Temporarily end to the longest ever government shutdown, which that is history for Trump, the president who had the longest running government shutdown of America, at least, because I hear typically that France, I think it was France, maybe it was Belgium or something like that, that said that they had like over a year long government shutdown. teeing up 3 weeks of negotiations to end the stalemate over funding for a wall along the southern border. Trump, speaking from the White House, said the temporary relief would allow the 800,000 federal employees who haven't been paid to receive back pay and catch up on their bills. We have reached a deal to end the shutdown and reopen the federal government, he said. But the deal is temporary and has an expiration date, February 15th. Okay, so there's the confirmation for it from USA Today. Heartless Soy Boy says only 7% of the government is shut down, or was shut down more specifically. And Lapis says it was Belgium. Okay, thanks. It lasted 20 months. Yep, well over a year. I thought it was like, okay. Yeah, it was like a little over 600 days. So, a little over 600 days. So it would have been like almost, but not quite 2 years, actually. Shutdown expected to end today. Both the Senate and House passed a bill to reopen the government Friday after. Here's what you should know about the deal and what comes next. Shutdown expected to end today. Both the Senate and House passed a bill to reopen the government Friday after Trump gave his speech and approved the temporary solution. The measure was sent to the White House for the president's approval Friday night. Trump said he would sign the measure and called for a showing of bipartisanship to put a final end to the impasse over funding for a border wall. Over the next 21 days, I expect that both Democrats and Republicans will operate in good faith, the president said. This is an opportunity for all parties to work together for the benefit of our whole beautiful, wonderful nation. Money for border wall is not part of deal. Yeah, I did not hear at all that it was. While the president agreed to reopen the federal government, no border wall money was part of the deal. The deal will allow the parts of the federal government that were shuttered to reopen for 3 weeks under the same funding those departments had last year, passing a continuing resolution. But the $5.7 billion Trump requested to construct a wall along the southern border isn't going away. The president is giving lawmakers 3 weeks to come up to some sort of compromise on border security. It's unclear what might happen if negotiations go poorly and a deal isn't made by February 15th. The president used his address on Friday to continue laying out his reasoning on why a border wall is needed, and pointing out that Democrats in the past had agreed to similar barriers in the past. Wait, what?
Dark
in the past, said twice in the same sentence. What? Sorry.
It is proof. Dark Khan is proof we need to build a wall because he doesn't speak English, guys. And I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
More like this article writer and speaking very good English, saying in the past twice in one sentence. Wow.
Yeah.
Shut down Trump's brain. The campaign trail is good, says S-Man, and Lapis says impossible. It's been down for years.
Damn right, motherfucker. Well, I mean, Trump on a lot
much.
of issues. Trump on a lot of issues is an idiot. But guys, the privatize the border. Are you fucking kidding me, heartless soy boy? Oh, good meme. Utterly good meme.
I think he was being serious.
I know. That's why it's a meme.
Okay. So what was I going to say? The president used his wait. I already read that sentence right there. He also played down the scope of his plan, saying his wall would not be built coast to coast and could just as easily be steel slat fencing. All right. So it doesn't have to exactly resemble the Great Wall of China, for example.
It's. Did you see that speech by the senator from Colorado, like where he just makes Ted Cruz his bitch? Like he pointed out that Trump was not even calling it a wall anymore. I think it was him. Like we're not even calling it a fucking wall anymore.
Okay. I don't see how that alone makes Ted Cruz bitch made, as you say.
Well, he owned the senator on several things when it came to complaining about workers and shit when he shut down the government in 2013 and crippled Colorado's ability to respond to a flood that killed like a ton of people and ruined their homes and businesses. I don't know if you've seen the video, but it's a heated conversation between Ted Cruz and Michael Bennett.
Lapis asked a question, and Heartless, if we privatize the border, can I buy a part of it to let undocumented people into America? That is, if the person owning the border is willing to sell it. And Soy Boy says, sure. You've converted me to... Lapis says, okay, privatizing the border is woke now. You've converted me to anarcho-capitalism.
That's fucking great. That is great.
That is material for poor bastards out of context. Get your list ready for poor bastards out of context 2019, S-Man.
I already have a few planned for Ham, and I had a few planned for Lapis, but we came to a truce on that because it would make her look like a Canadian Confederate. The effeminate Confederate.
By the way, you realize that you're still screen sharing the campaign trail?
I know, that's purely intentional, but yeah. Also, it's a great fucking game because you get to... So far, I'm destroying... Okay, actually, I was destroying Hubert Humphrey. Now I'm like narrowly trailing... I'm narrowly ahead of this son of a bitch.
All right, so... Anyway, State of the Union. Wait, what? State of the Union? I don't know if the person is like intentionally meaning to joke by saying state of the twice in the same statement, or if that was a big old typo. Anyway, the president's State of the Union, or don't you mean State of the Union, address was postponed due to the government shutdown. Now that the government is reopening, his address back on the table? Well, I hear that was over the issue of security. I mean, it's not like as if Trump could not hire his own security guards. I mean, I can only assume that he did that a whole lot of times when he was, before he was the president. Heartless Soy Boy says, privatize Trump. Why? So that you could buy him as your slave, Soy Boy?
I don't know who this Heartless Soy Boy is, but I think that he wants to make America great again just as much as I do. Donald John Trump. I assume, a Heartless Soy Boy, he's bringing drugs, he's bringing crime. They're rapists, and I assume some are good people. No, I'm joking. So Heartless Soy Boy, I don't think you'd hurt people.
S-Man, you say privatize ICE and privatize elections.
I think I don't know. Maybe that caused Lapis to have an aneurysm. Some of my takes have caused her to.
Lapis says I wouldn't want Trump as a sex slave. No. That's not you, Lapis. I was asking Soy Boy if he wanted Trump as a sex slave. Make America capitalist, says Soy Boy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Privatize elections. Isn't that basically what corporations already do in trying to like choose a CEO for their company or something along them lines?
That's actually that's probably a pretty good way of putting it. Like, yeah, that's.
I don't think I don't think all corporations do it, but I'm pretty sure that's a thing for some of them, anyways.
It's like a closed election, yeah.
All right, so president's. Okay, I already read that paragraph. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said, "Not so fast. The State of the Union is not planned now," she told reporters after Trump's announcement that the government would reopen. What I said to the president is, when the government is opened, we will discuss a mutually agreeable date, Pelosi said, adding, "I'll look forward to doing that and welcoming Trump in the House chambers when that is done." Trump decided to postpone his address on Wednesday after a bitter back and forth with Pelosi. Trump explained that the House chamber was the only appropriate place for the address, abandoning the search for an alternative location that he teased to reporters. As the shutdown was going on, Nancy Pelosi asked me to give the State of the Union, or excuse me, as the shutdown was going on, Nancy Pelosi asked me to give the State of the Union address. I agreed. She then changed her mind because of the shutdown, suggesting a later date. This is her prerogative. I will do the address when the shutdown is over, Trump said. The announcement came after Pelosi wrote a letter telling Trump that the House would not allow the president to hold the address in the House chamber, where it's traditionally held. Trump had lashed out at Pelosi after reading her letter, telling reporters, the State of the Union speech has been canceled by Nancy Pelosi because she doesn't want to hear the truth. She doesn't want the American public to hear what's going on. She doesn't want to... Okay, she doesn't want to hear the truth. Never mind. I read that wrong. My bad. All right, what happens next? It's been more than a month since the shutdown started. Yeah, and I did not hear no doom and gloom situations like over the holiday seasons anyway. I mean, everybody was so focused on all the alcohol and the gifts and other goodies rather than whether or not the government stayed open. All right. S-Man, are you still there, or are you just mostly focusing on the campaign trail game there?
No, I'm still here, and I fucking lost the election to Hubert Humphrey, a guy who was probably the most effeminate vice president in American history. Yeah, everybody, S-Man has lost this election. Dark Con can now. I played Richard Nixon, and yeah, Nixon fucking lost. I'm just gonna skip to the final results. Let's see. I lost Alaska. You know how bad you have to be to lose Alaska. Damn, that is a closer popular vote result than I'm pretty sure Donald Trump is closer to his own wife than. I mean, to be fair,
I just noticed the tweet that you tagged me to. Justin, Hillary Clinton is reportedly weighing a third run for the Oval Office in 2020. Oh boy.
At that point, it's like, God help us, please. At that point, I will just write in. I would much rather write in. Who would be the oldest member of the poor bastard? What if I literally wrote in JPM for president? Like I just put JPM for president, and I don't know if anyone who's older than 35 in our groups who could run for vice president. I'll literally just write in the Dark Con, and like if there's no good candidates for president or vice president. I like the sound of that. Imagine if there's... Honestly, Hillary Clinton would probably lose to Donald Trump in 2020. Like, when the president of the United States is more popular than you are, and he's one of the most unpopular presidents, you know that you have no chance of winning further elections. Also, Lapis, yeah. I lost.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I lost the election, Lapis, by 3 points to Hubert Humphrey, 41 to 43%, and I lost like quite a few states. I lost Texas, and but I won Dark Con's home state by a narrow majority, so kept Kansas Republican.
Wait a minute, by a narrow majority, a 51 to 37. That's pretty much of a landslide. That's a clear majority.
Yeah, it's a clear majority, but it's not too far from being just a plurality. And I kept the Momo regime Republican.
Lapis says, I like the sound of that. You like the sound of what, Lapis? I don't know what you're referring to. Anyway.
And I won California by just 0.2%.
Can't wait. Okay. Heartless Soil Boy says, can't wait for Dark Con to call himself the Dark ANCAP. Oh, God. I remember that I actually made reference to that in our response video to TYT on libertarianism, and I was all like, "After all, my name is the Dark Conservatarian, not the Dark ANCAP."
Yeah.
Lapis
She
says
says an effeminate vice president. To be fair, Hubert Humphrey has like a higher pitched voice than Richard Nixon. So
the S and cap. He says. I'm sorry that does not work as well, soy boy.
Sandcap, like I can imagine
Actually, yeah,
S
Sandcap
Mancap
speaks.
S
Sandcap
Mancap
speaks.
speaks.
S. Did you say S Mancap?
Yeah.
Oh,
If I ever turn into an ANCAP, I'm pretty sure the ANCAPs will threaten to slit my throat if I go with that name, for God's sake.
Ancap man speaks. She's Lapis says.
You dared call Heartless Soy Boy a she, you racist.
No, I was referring to Lapis. I was about to say she, but then I was all like, if I just left it at as she, well, probably would have clicked of who I was referring to, but still, anyway. So back to the news. What happens next? It's been more than a month since the shutdown started. And over those 35 days, lawmakers on both sides of the aisle have tried to come to a deal that would both appease Democrats, Republicans, and the president. That hasn't happened. Now, lawmakers will have 21 days to negotiate a deal. If that doesn't happen, it's unclear exactly what might come next. But both Republicans and Democrats expressed optimism on Friday that a deal could be possible. Top Democrats, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, said there were areas on border security where both Democrats and Republicans agreed, saying that was a sign a bipartisan compromise could be negotiated. Like, what exactly? What are the conditions that both sides are wanting that makes this bipartisan? Like, show me the beef.
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, it's a really interesting thing to see with the Trump administration and people's attitudes towards Congress when I think the IRS has a higher approval rating than Congress, and only like 9% of Americans approve of how Congress is doing. So I think looking at how they're trying to be all bipartisan, it's like these people don't understand. There's times where you can be bipartisan, and then there's times where being bipartisan isn't going to work. Like I can be bipartisan with people that are to the left of me on voting rights, and then I can be like, I won't be partisan on economics. And I will be kind of having a hard line on immigration. So while Darkon is muted, guys, he's probably getting some water, or he's probably going to cringe. And besides, I just tweeted a screen cap of the election I just lost to Hubert Humphrey. I lost by under 3 million votes, but I still lost. Hashtag blame George Wallace.
All right. Now, as I try to prep my Pelosi impersonation, I'm optimistic, Pelosi said. I see every challenge or every crisis as an opportunity to do the right thing for the American people.
Okay, first of all, Darkon, that's actually not a bad impression, and also, I will personally report this stream, bitch. No, I'm kidding. Sorry, like that just made me like utterly cringe so hard.
Well, I'm trying to impersonate the sound of her losing her dentures. Because that's what it literally sounds like whenever she speaks. It sounds like her dentures are falling out.
Her dentures are wanting to give up on her. They're like, ew, it's Nancy Pelosi.
All right. Lindsey Goober Graham, Republican South Carolina, said he was also somewhat optimistic about a potential deal, telling Fox News that Democrats should take up the president's offer for temporary protections for deferred action for childhood arrivals, DACA, which includes a group known as Dreamers, and temporarily protected status holders. To my Democratic colleagues, this is the best chance that I've seen since 2006 to get a deal that is a win-win for all of us. I'm sorry, I don't think I have enough soy in my accent there to impersonate Graham.
Honestly, he's like the most effeminate senator in the United States Senate,
or at least on the Republican side, anyways.
On the GOP side.
Okay. So anyway, take advantage of it. If you don't by February 15th, this president has one chance left to do it by himself by executive action. That's the last option, but it might be the only option if Democrats won't work with us. That was my best. I cannot remember exactly how Lindsey Graham cracker sounds.
Honestly, it's
Lindsey Graham cracker.
Oh my God.
And Lapis says in the chat, yeah, she's with me on the nickname. Graham Cracker is such a hypocrite.
So we got nicknames for Graham Cracker, Lindsey Graham Cracker, Cocaine Mitch McConnell. That's pretty much it.
He called Trump a race baiting bigot, and now he sucks his dick.
So he likes that orange. He likes the orange dick.
He likes the Cheeto Puff.
He loves it.
Okay. Executive action. Okay. Executive action still on the table. No. Trump. Bad Trump. Bad. Sorry, I'm like Darth Vader from episode 3 of Star Wars. No. I'm sorry. Being pretty bad right now. Anyways, back to the story.
So Dark Khan admits he's being a bad boy.
Yes, I'm bad. If there isn't a deal, as Graham noted, the president could elect to use his executive powers to redirect money for a barrier along the southern border. The president has threatened for weeks to declare a national emergency to redirect money to free up the $5.7 billion he wants for constructing a border wall. The move would curtail Congress, which under the Constitution directs appropriating funding to federal agencies. Okay, this is bullshit, honestly. The only instance I can think that this would be a national emergency, so therefore you need to build a wall, is if like the Mexican government or some other government south of the border was like literally sending up an army to like declare war on the United States. Other than that, I do not see where really the national emergency is. I mean, yes, I do find that statistically speaking, illegal immigration to be a negative thing, but national emergency? That's being hyperbolic, Trump, and you should not take that kind of executive action on this.
Okay, yeah, and for the record, Dark Khan, if you ever do that again, like I said before, I'll have to report the stream because that was a little too high pitched of it for you to do.
Okay, I see.
I'm joking for the record, but it was cringy.
Well, when I was all like, Anyway,
that is probably the gayest thing you've done on the stream, Dark Khan.
On this stream, at least. I think what was the gayest thing that when was the gayest that I sounded was in Dark Cancer number 10, when I was like doing my most effeminate impersonation of how is that possible? How is that possible? Or something like that. Dark Khan sounded like he orgasmed. All right. Trump using his presidential powers to clean up shutdown worries would likely lead to another mess, as liberals have already threatened to sue if Trump takes such action, which I will encourage on the front of him being unconstitutional with the way that he is pushing for this wall, more so than me just outright disagreeing with the wall. Like, S-Man is obviously an outright disagreement of it. I'm meh on it, but what I definitely disagree on is this type of action to get the wall built, you know?
Yeah, because if he's going to declare national emergency on a stupid fucking wall, then when the Democrats are in power, they're going to declare national emergency over some stupid fucking healthcare plan.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think Ben Shapiro even made like a point like that. Well, I don't know if he specifically said it, but I heard somebody say Republicans are now declaring a national emergency, or not all Republicans, but just Trump at least, is declaring national emergency on immigration. And then come the next Democratic president, they're going to declare national emergency on healthcare and get pushed a Bernie Sanders style plan on that.
I think.
And then Trump will have no room to complain.
I think people were saying that Bernie Sanders might run in 2020, which It'd be funny if like he gets BTFO'd in the primary again, the same primary he lost by 12 points, and he runs as an independent, and because honestly, if he splits the vote and gets Trump reelected, then then people are going to hate Bernie Sanders, and I don't have to ever hear about him again.
Lapis says it's a bad precedent. National emergency should be saved for real crisis, and I will agree with that.
The Snow Mexican gets it right.
In his remarks on Friday, Trump hinted that executive action is still on the table if a deal isn't made. As everyone knows, as everyone knows, I have a very powerful alternative, but I didn't want to use it at this time, Trump said. Hopefully it will be unnecessary. But if it becomes necessary, remember, I have a pen and I have a phone. You remember who that saying is from, S-Man? I have a pen and I have a phone.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Anyway. What the heck? I'm getting audio on my end. So there's a video playing. I don't even know where it is.
It's on the government shutdown one to the far left. Let's blame this on the far left Archon.
It's not that.
It's the one with the blue dot on it. There
okay.
There you go. Silly Darkon.
It's not that one. Not that one.
There's an audio. It says this tab is playing audio.
Oh my gosh.
Poor Darkon struggling with technologies like guys.
Okay,
you guys
I have this article saved. Okay, it was from USA Today. I have it saved on my WordPad so I can add it like after I am done streaming here. Which, by the way, I just remembered that I have absolutely no description below in this stream at all.
Oof.
I don't even have like the sources tab with the little coming soon in parentheses. But anyway.
Triple parentheses.
No, not triple parentheses. I'm not alt-right. Although Owen would like to think of me as that.
Twitter thinking emoji.
Anyway, Schumer claims victory. Trump agreed to our request to open government and then debate border security. All right. So further on the issue of government shutdown, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, Democrat, New York, went to the Senate floor Friday afternoon and said the agreement President Donald Trump made to end the partial government shutdown without any deal on building a border wall endorses the position that the Democrats took during the impasse. The Senate then held a voice vote to pass the bill to fund for 3 weeks those parts of the government that had been shut down. The president had agreed to our request to open the government and then debate border security, which is great news for 800,000 federal workers and millions of Americans who depend upon government services, said Schumer. Excuse me. I don't know if like the government shutdown actually affected people's welfare, but like I haven't actually seen any citation on that, but I would just give the benefit of the doubt right now. What were you about to say?
I don't know if it affected welfare, but it definitely affected income and things like that. And
yeah, it affected the income of the people working under the government, but that's not exactly the same as welfare. All right. As Democrats have said all along, the solution to this impasse was to separate funding the government from our disagreements over border security, said Schumer. This disagreement endorses that position. Well, to argue for Trump, would you really have agreed okay, well, granted that Trump had buckled before the Democrats have over the government shutdown. But if he hadn't shut down the government, would he have got you guys' attention at all on the possibility of funding the border wall? But on the other hand, Trump did have the Republicans controlling both the House and the Senate for 2 long years. Under that time, he could have got his signature border wall paid for, but
his health care plan, which he couldn't sell to the Freedom Caucus.
the most that he got done with healthcare. Well, yeah, that's another thing. I mean, you have civil war within the Republicans. So you have like some Republicans that are all like repeal and replace, and then you have Republicans in the Freedom Caucus, for example, who are just all like, no, repeal, no, replace. But the most that Trump could actually get done was the individual mandate, which here, Trump, have a cookie for that one. But aside from that, it's looking kind of about as weak as Obama's first 2 years. I mean, at least Obama, of course, I highly disagree with Obamacare, but at least he got his signature bill of Obamacare through. You couldn't even get your signature wall through, Trump. He had 2 years, says Lapis. Anyway, Mexico was supposed to pay for the wall. Yeah, honestly, I never was convinced from the very start of how that would actually happen. I mean, people explain as to how it would happen, but I don't think Mexico would necessarily be obligated to it. What were you saying, S-Man?
I think that we shouldn't. This wall shouldn't be built to begin with. I think that if we're going to build it, cut the defense budget by 40%, and maybe we can talk about building it. But I mean, it wouldn't. I mean, it doesn't. It's going to cost more than like what, $5 billion. It's going to cost like what, $30-something billion to build the fucking wall. Like it's just a drop in the bucket Trump is asking for, over some wall that nobody wants and nobody needs.
30 billion compared to like I mean, you wouldn't have to so much as cut defense spending by 40%, as you're saying in the live chat here. I mean, it's like what, 600 billion the defense spending is.
If you cut it by 40, it'd be around. If you cut spending,
if you cut it by 40, he could like pay for the wall like 5 times over.
If we cut defense spending, which 40% of 600-something billion is 233-something billion dollars. Like you could pay for the wall. You could pay for a lot of domestic issues. Like I'm just saying, like if Donald Trump really wants to make America great again, that could be something he could do. Is like then you won't need the Democrats' help on funding the wall. You're not going to need their help on almost anything.
ICL is in the chat. Hello, ICL. Nice for you to join the live chat of one of these streams. He says, I wish we could spend money on shit that matters, like getting us off this fucking rock before it gets fucking gets hit by an asteroid. Yeah, and assuming that overpopulation is like really at the dismal crisis that some people like to make it sound, that would be another reason for like funding for space travel and whatnot, is for the sake of freeing up some space on Earth. Anyway, this agreement. Okay, so continuing with what Schumer said, this agreement endorses that position. It reopens the government without preconditions, and it gives Democrats and Republicans an opportunity to discuss border security without holding hundreds of thousands of American workers hostage. Hopefully, it means a lesson has been learned. Shutting down the government over a policy difference is self-defeating, said Schumer. To those government workers, I would suggest get a private job.
Yeah, like
get a real job.
Yeah, the government jobs. So it's like when shutdowns happen, and people want governments to mandate like they have to give you a job. It's like when government shuts down, then imagine all the unemployment rate would go up like a fucking. It would go up like an insane rate.
I see you, Lapis. I'm admiring your optimism in the. Admiring your optimism in the live chat, saying overpopulation isn't a thing. She also says it could conceivably be, but it isn't right now.
The English you had, DarkCon, no offense, but the English you had just made me cringe.
It could conceivably be, but it isn't right now. What?
No, it was something you had said. Like you're trying to say, I admire your optimism.
Okay.
Then anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I would actually have to have a live stream talking about overpopulation because I heard that issue get briefly mentioned up a few times within the ANCAP circles that I've been hanging out with more, even on yesterday's stream. By the way, go to like Nate the Volunteerist's channel and watch last night's episode of his live stream series. It is a freaking hilarious one, S-Man. You'll get a kick out of it.
All right.
All right. Under the deal, Trump agreed to the government will be funded until February 15. In the meantime, a conference committee consisting of members from both the House and Senate will consider legislation to fund the Department of Homeland Security and enhance border security. In his speech on the Senate floor, as he described the process that will go forward, typo. Schumer pointed out that the Democrats continue to be against the wall.
Well,
sorry, go on.
They have an interesting voting history on this. Some of them would have voted for something equivalent to one in 2006, yet they are opposing it now. So it does somewhat undermine them today, their actions of the past.
All right. As just outlined, we have agreed to pass a clean 3-week continuing resolution to reopen the government, Schumer said. Also, we will pass legislation in the Senate that will be related to the Department of Homeland Security so the House and Senate can participate in a conference committee on that legislation. In the conference, Democrats and Republicans will have the opportunity to negotiate the details of the Homeland Security bill, which will include issues of border security, humanitarian aid, drug inspection, technology, and many others, said Schumer. I genuinely hope this process will produce something that is good for the country and acceptable to both sides, said Schumer. We don't agree on some of the specifics of border security. The Democrats are against the wall, but we agree on many things, such as the need for new technology and the need to strengthen security at our ports of entry. And that bodes well for our coming to an eventual agreement. Okay. I believe there is good faith on both sides to reach an agreement, and we will work diligently to achieve one, Schumer said. All right. That's the end of that article. And speaking of like compromises, S-Man, I mean, I know that you're like pro border control, but like, what would your proposition be?
On the wall, on the issue of the wall, or
immigration in general, because obviously you said time and time again that you're preferring not to build the wall, but I don't know. Say if you would you at all compromise with establishment Republicans on the wall? Is one curious question, but just in general, what would you do about immigration?
Compromising with the establishment Republicans on the wall, I don't see it as likely, but like I obviously would have to talk with those people on the issue. As for what I do about immigration, well, I would continue the Obama era of increased deportations. I have to say Obama was good on that. I would bite my tongue and give the current DACA recipients amnesty, and then I would end DACA right then and there. And then at that point, I would try and streamline the process to make it easier to immigrate legally, to try and once and for all, make to
it
help
cheaper, make it shorter,
make it cheaper, make it shorter, and if I had a majority in Congress, like if I was president, crack down on sanctuary cities.
Yeah.
Which I have to say, just for the record, I don't feel bad about anything I just said right there.
All right. Okay. So. All right. So I was just checking Twitter for a second there. So anyway, out of curiosity, Esman, had you read this article at all yourself?
I have not had the chance to. It's been a busy couple weeks, so
I see.
Who shared? Was this? Did I share this?
Yeah, you did.
Holy
I can't
shit!
remember if it was on Discord or Strikeforce News or some other Twitter chat group or whatnot, but yeah, I got this from you.
Oh yeah, I
along with
forgot.
this one way over here that we're going to be looking at in all eventuality.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I guess we'll both be checking out what's up with it for the first time. By the way, you almost sound tired, man. Are you all right?
No, I'm all right. I'm just trying to remember when I don't even remember sending this article.
Well, since we're both going in on this fresh, let's get our fresh reactions of it. How Trump's first 2 years might have been a success. The president has made fundamental errors that may sink his presidency. It didn't have to be that way.
Oh,
Oh,
well, yeah.
okay.
Yeah, like that travel ban, like he knew. I think he should have known that is not going to work. Like the tariffs, the travel ban he tried to implement, like that shit was going to hurt people. It's going to get blocked, and uh, other choices he's made in his presidency. I think he'll hurt the Republicans come 2020, 2022. Like if he gets reelected, he's probably going to lose the Senate in 2022.
Hmm. All right.
Hopefully, one day, this rise of progressivism dies down, though.
Hmm. Anyway, but I just got to say that Lapis hates you now. All right. What could Donald Trump have done differently as president to consolidate his political position? How could he have avoided the beleaguered state in which he now finds himself? Such questions emerge as we watch him struggle with the challenges of his office, often adding to his own difficulties with amateurish missteps and outlandish outbursts. Okay, so the name of this website is called The American Conservative, but so far they are critical. They are critical to Trump, kind of in the same way that Ben Shapiro is critical to Trump, and that they don't like the way that Trump carries himself in his personality, primarily.
Yeah. In fact, there was one time the American Conservative, if I'm remembering correctly, they actually encouraged all their readers to vote Democratic. One time in the midterms of as a vote against the Bush presidency. Well, let me see
Oh.
if that's true. Yep,
Lapis
they
says
did.
never on hating you, or actually, no, I think she's saying never on one day the progressivism dying down. And she also says, one day, S-Man, you will be sent to the postmodern gender gulag.
I'm gonna ask. I'm gonna have to ask her a question then.
Better
I'm
get
gonna.
better get read up on them gender studies, S-Man.
I'll get so fucking woke, guys, that I need to take a nap.
But anyway, so this article might not be as biased as I first thought when going into this article. Anyway, given that what Trump does is so closely tied to who he is, it may be frivolous to wonder what he could have done differently or what he could do differently starting now. Most likely, he couldn't have risen to the challenge he created with his electoral triumph because he lacked the political and intellectual attributes to do so. But the hypothetical exercise is worth pursuing because it sheds light on the political opportunity generated by his election. Trump's victory signified that nearly half of the electorate had become sick and tired of the political establishment and, more broadly, the meritocratic elite that was taking America down a path of globalism, porous borders, trade policies that were devastating industrial America, growing economic inequality, speech suppression through political correctness, and endless wars conducted with little or no congressional supervision or restraint. Okay, that's a lot said. As far as economic inequality, that was more of part of Bernie's platform on what he was going to try to resolve. And by the way, I will say economic inequality, not that big a deal with me. I mean, as long as there is like no government propping up corporations via subsidies or bailouts, but and also speech suppression through political correctness. If I recall correctly, Trump has his own issue of having speech suppression. Like, didn't he try to shut down the licenses of certain news organizations, like New York Times or whatever?
Yeah, he Donald Trump is very much on the authoritarian right, in all honesty. And Heartless Soy Boy thinks Trump's a leftist, for fuck's sake. But,
What?
yeah, he literally tweeted at me in reply to something I said. He's like, Trump's a leftist. I'm like, are you fucking serious?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, what are so many of the left-leaning policies that he supports that would make him a leftist? It would be my question to Soy Boy. If he's probably not watching right now, but still, I mean, if I was like in conversation with him, that would be one of the things I would ask.
Yeah.
And another thing was, okay, I've become sick and tired of the meritocratic elite that was taking America down a path of globalism, et cetera, et cetera. The meritocratic elite. Like, I don't know, never mind. I'm not going to try to overthink that part. Lapis also says, I think it's more he thinks big government equals leftism. It's a bit more complicated than that. She says more complicated of that. Okay. Typo, but we get the point. Actually, yeah, it is, Lapis. I mean, say, for example, if the government was wanting to like restrict LGBT rights to the point of preventing trans people from getting their transgender procedures or preventing gay people from getting married with each other, well, then that would be an example of big government. But at the same time, that is an example of being a more right-leaning policy, at least by traditional political spectrum standards. But in my debate, in my experience regarding debating political spectrums, they're subjective. And maybe subjectively, Soy Boy thinks that just in general, if you're more for big government, the more left you are. Even if you're like against LGBT rights, that makes you, in his eyes, more left-leaning than right-leaning, even though by traditional standards, it's the right that's more against LGBT than the left. Anyway, Trump was elected.
Okay. Just, I do have to go. I'm gonna help. Gotta go help someone get their groceries. Dude fucking broke his ankle, and I feel bad for the poor bastard.
Okay. One quick question: are you gonna be here for the 6 p.m. Electoral College discussion?
I believe I will. I'll let you know if I can't. And as always, everybody, leftism is not the answer. It is not the way. Leftists do not know the way. And as always, this is Strike Force, and I'll talk to y'all next time.
All right, see you later, S-Man. And there goes my co-host, so I'm now alone. Yeah, I think I'll have to do a political compass, says Lapis. All right. So, continuing with the article, Trump was elected as an anti-establishment candidate to subdue the elite and curtail or reverse these policies and actions. Yeah, and then he starts cozying up with establishmentarians like Mitch McConnell, for example. That he saw the opportunity when hardly anyone else in politics even perceived the underlying forces at work is a testament to his political instincts. Once elected, he needed to accomplish 4 political goals to move the country in the new direction desired by his constituency. All right. Define his presidency in words and deeds so the American people would have a coherent idea of his vision. Yeah, considering the fact that he was a flip-flop during the general election, it was hard to get a clear understanding of what his beliefs are. And also considering the fact that in the past, he hasn't really had that consistent of a political compass on certain issues. Like there's at one point that he was actually for single payer, and now he almost seems slightly against it, or at least, I don't know. Even now, I would still say that I'm slightly confused on whether or not Trump actually supports some milquetoast version of single payer or not. But definitely on the issue of guns, big time flip flop on that one. Okay. Surround himself with like-minded officials who shared that vision. Identify the elements of his constituency and fashion them into a majority coalition. identify the enemies of his constituency in polite parlance, his political adversaries, and go after them in an effort to curtail their power. Trump has not gained mastery in any of these areas. All right. Thought I saw I had 7 viewers for a second there, but no. All right. So Soyboy says, hey, you should check out Yan, whatever. Hellfeld, he destroyed Bernie 10 years ago. He made Bernie look like a brain-dead retard. All right. I mean, is there a video of that or something? I'll probably have to check it out. By the way, Soyboy, if you haven't, just yet leave this video, I gotta ask, what makes you think that Trump is a leftist? Because I'm not convinced. I mean, me and S-Man were actually talking about that a little bit earlier, and excuse me, it just strikes as odd that anybody would call Trump a leftist. Anyway, defining his presidency, Trump has been erratic and inconsistent in word and deed. In foreign policy, he sometimes has seemed to be an exponent of realism and restrained, while at others he's seemed like just another post-Cold War interventionist in the mold of Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, and Barack Obama. Inconsistency produces a muddled message, and a muddled message mutilates, and a muddled message militates against presidential forward progress. Okay. Beyond that, Trump has made little effort to explain his programs and vision to the broad electorate. He has not held a conversation with the American people, as Franklin Roosevelt did with his fireside chats, as John Kennedy did in his speeches and press conferences with his eloquence and wit, and as Ronald Reagan did on national television, including when he reached into his pocket and pulled out a number of coins to illustrate an economic point. Certainly, Trump's many rallies have stirred his base, but he has done little to expand that base and bring under his banner those who didn't vote for him. Yeah, I mean, he's more of, I don't know. Soyboy says he's a leftist. He's a Keynesian. He supports government intervention. Well, okay, yeah, he supports tariffs. Last I checked, actually, now that I think about it, he has expressed some sympathies for raising the minimum wage to at least, say, $10 an hour. But other than that, I can't really think of too many more. Okay. He also has done subsidies and bailouts to farmers, as we will get into that a little bit later. So that's even if it's by practice a good thing for all the leftists of my audience, it's still by definition a more left-leaning policy to give out bailouts to anyone, not even just big corporations. To anyone, to give bailouts to anyone, it's more of a left-leaning policy than a right-leaning policy. Yeah, he did raise the minimum wage. He did raise the minimum wage, says Soyboy. Wait, what? Okay, that would have to check out. Are you saying that the minimum wage in the United States is now over $7.25? All right. Further, his rhetoric is slashing and mean-spirited, without any leavening wit or self-awareness. Consider Trump's assaults on the news media as purveyors of fake news. His most fervent supporters love it, but it isn't helping him recruit new adherents. Compare that to Franklin Roosevelt, who also labored in the face of a hostile press. Then the newspapers were largely conservative, whereas today the media are largely liberal. In both instances, they were defenders of the status quo. In 1938, Roosevelt good-naturedly said that the press considered him an ogre, a consorter with communists, a destroyer of the rich, and also a man, he added ominously, who breakfasts every morning on a dish of grilled millionaire. His large audience laughed appreciatively, but they roared with far greater amusement when he added, actually, I am an exceedingly mild-mannered person, a practitioner of peace, both domestic and foreign, a believer in the capitalist system, and for breakfast, a devotee of scrambled eggs. Okay. I mean, yeah, FDR really isn't the most right-leaning on economics. In fact, I would say that he's like at least moderate left on the issue. Like, he almost resembles more of the European types when it comes to economics than any right-leaning libertarian in America. Heartless Soy Boy says, plus he has enforced gun control. He banned bump stocks. Oh yeah, that is definitely something left-leaning of Trump. Like, it's kind of hard for me to call him far right. Like, a whole lot of people would call Trump far right, but considering the fact that he has like pushed for the restricting of gun rights and even said that he would consider bringing back the Dianne Feinstein style of assault rifle ban, tariffs and bailouts, it's hard for me to really call him far right. And as racist as leftists like to point him out to be, he at least has not gone so far to say that he advocates for a white ethno-state. So, yeah. And he's not the most traditionalist when it comes to religion, to the point that he practically wants to force people to be religious themselves or even ban gay marriage. Night Shift 10,000 is in the chat. Hello, Night Shift. He kills, eats, and eats off of millionaires. I don't think that's legal. Yeah. Can't understand his way of thinking. He's Keynesian. I'm of the Austrian Chicago School of Economics. All right. 1 second here. All right. I had to take a sip of water there. All right. Personal selection. Here's where Trump's failure has been particularly notable. He should have scoured the landscape for like-minded people who understood, as he seemed to, that the status quo was fading and that new thinking was needed. In foreign policy, he should have reached out to such high-stature realist thinkers as Jim Webb, Chas Freeman, Doug Bandeau, Daniel McCarthy, Mark Perry, Rand Paul, Andrew Basovich, or how do you pronounce it? Jacob Heilbrunn, and Christopher Preble. These were the intellectuals who perked up during the campaign when Trump issued his severe critique of America's failed foreign policies of the previous 2 decades. Some he should have tried to recruit. Others, no doubt, would have been impossible to bring aboard, but Trump still could have received from them sound counsel while signaling that he harbored a strong sense of what kind of foreign policy he wished to pursue. For a news site that calls themselves conservative, they seem to be pretty critical of Trump. So I say good on this news article site. Night Shift asks, "Hey Darkon, how are things going today?" They're going pretty good, Night Shift. Soy Boy also says, "If Trump wants to prove to me that he's not a leftist, then he has to reduce the size of government." Yep. Night Shift says, in the wake of the government restart. Why? Anyway. Instead, Trump surrounded himself with establishment figures bent on preserving the status quo that he had railed against during the campaign. Nikki Haley at the UN, Rex Tillerson and Mike Pompeo at State, Jim Mattis at Defense, John Bolton as National Security Advisor. None of them would have been considered by discerning observers as natural followers of Trump's iconoclastic foreign policy views. The result was that the president's message got further muddled, and the president spent his first 2 years carrying on an internal struggle just to make the decisions he wanted to make. Identify his constituency and craft a majority coalition. Trump seems to identify his natural constituency as those who approve of his presidential performance, as measured in surveys. Yeah, in other words, he wants nothing but dick suckers. These are the people who show up at his rallies and to whom he addresses his message. Unfortunately, they make up only 41% to 43% of the electorate, as suggested by the latest composite numbers calculated by 538 and Real Clear Politics. Although remarkably consistent, these numbers almost certainly aren't enough to get Trump reelected. Again, the FDR example is instructive. He pulled organized labor towards the Democratic Party with legislation that established its standing in collective bargaining. The result was that FDR's party in turn greatly enhanced its own political power. It was a potent and brilliant part of the New Deal realignment that Roosevelt brought about. Another part was the Northern black vote, which had lingered in the Republican coalition since Lincoln. FDR's New Deal brought blacks and many more who were migrating in growing numbers to the industrial North into the Democratic Party. Similarly, Ronald Reagan in the 1980s pulled under the Republican standard an entirely new constituency known as Reagan Democrats, mostly working class Americans alienated from the increasingly liberal Democrats. Had Reagan confined his message merely to traditional Republicans and conservatives, he never could have brought them into his coalition and never would have won re-election in a landslide. I do have to say that I don't recall many statements from Reagan saying, going on and on about LGBT issues. Soy Boy also says, also, Trump supports the Internet Bill of Rights, which if you have read the bill, it's going to nationalize the internet. Yeah, basically. But although I haven't heard any statements of Trump actually advocating for the Bill of Rights, I mean, I would think that if he advocated for an Internet Bill of Rights, he would have advocated for net neutrality to remain. But as far as I know, considering the fact that he seems more leaning towards the ending of net neutrality, I'm kind of skeptical on whether I kind of feel skeptical on Trump saying that he supposedly supports an Internet Bill of Rights. Just in all honesty. As president, Trump, excuse me, let me restart that. As president, Trump hasn't lured any new constituency into his party. In fact, he has alienated some people, like, for example, some of his Republican base to create the Never Trumpers, like I myself was in 2016. Meanwhile, the Democrats are lurching to the left, as they did just prior to Reagan's 1980 election, embracing identity politics and fashioning themselves as elites. What an opportunity. History tells us that in America, when a party identifies itself as of the elites, as the Democrats did in the years leading up to 2016, that makes it vulnerable to a revolt by the masses. That's what happened with Trump's election, though, on a scale barely sufficient to put the anti-elitist candidate in the White House. One of Trump's jobs as leader of his party is to expand upon that. He hasn't done so. I will say that if Trump loses his re-election campaign in 2020, and if he gets replaced by a more progressive Democrat type, like, say, Cortez wouldn't be old enough to run for president by then, but say if he got replaced by Elizabeth Warren, then Elizabeth Warren could very well be stomped by, like, say, the next Republican candidate or a Libertarian candidate or somebody that's a little bit more Libertarian-esque to, like, appeal more to the more Libertarian Democrats out there, more socially Libertarian Democrats. That would be interesting. Like in 2024, get somebody that makes Reagan look like a progressive himself. That'd be ridiculous. Identify political adversaries and go after them. I must once again turn to FDR, who was, after all, probably the greatest coalition builder in American political history. Yeah, considering the fact that he won election 4 times, and they were all pretty much landslides, if I remember correctly. Massive landslides too. In a 1936 speech during his re-election campaign, Roosevelt identified the people who were against him: the old enemies of peace, business and financial monopoly, speculation, reckless banking, class antagonism, sectionalism, war profiteering. That's pretty ironic, considering the fact that come around World War II, he becomes pretty much a profiteer off of war himself. Consider a few of these power centers as they might be seen in today's high-voltage politics. Business and financial monopoly. This is a growing problem crying out for governmental scrutiny. Where is Trump on the rise of the tech giants and their unprecedented and often abusive market power? Reckless banking. Wall Street and the big banks were abundantly complicit in fostering the real estate bubble that gave us the financial crisis of 2008. After that, they applied political muscle to coax the federal government and the Federal Reserve into providing bailouts, stimulus packages, and other financial props, all in the name of helping mortgage holders when in fact they were the real beneficiaries. The banks benefited further from the Fed's near zero interest rate policies over nearly a decade. Investment counselor and author David Smick has suggested that this may represent the greatest transfer of middle class and elderly wealth to elite financial interests in the history of mankind. This cries out for some discourse. This cries out for some discourse on whether and how the banks should be busted up. Consider that $1 of every $12 of GDP goes to the financial sector today. In the 1950s, it was $1 of every $40. This financialization of the U.S. economy reflects that massive transfer of wealth that Smick was talking about. Where is Trump on this? Okay, nothing new in the chat. I'm going to see what's going on Twitter, actually. Let me get updated here in a second. Okay. Oh, okay. I just saw like the little picture that that Night Shift had shared in the ANCAP Illuminati chat group. People say Trump is a right-winger because he supports strict immigration laws, but that isn't small government, says Soy Boy. Well, traditionally, if you are more and more for border control, the more and more right-wing you are. But the more and more you are against border control and ultimately for open borders, the more left-wing you are. I mean, if according to your spectrum, the more and more pro-open borders, well, okay, not necessarily pro-open borders, but pro-private. Okay. I mean, let's keep in mind, Soy Boy, that the issue and the idea of private borders, that is not exactly traditional thinking. But by traditional thinking, the more and more pro-border security and border control you are, the more right-leaning you are. But the more pro-open borders you are and pro-amnesty you are, the more left-leaning you are. But yeah, I will agree that immigration is not the end-all, be-all of somebody determining of how and where they are on the political spectrum. And just because that Trump supports border control doesn't mean outright that he is like a right-winger. Okay. Night Shift says that's what that dot picture is supposed to be, is Zog the evil Jew. Like really? Okay, yeah, I saw it as soon as you shared the second picture, Night Shift. But I'm going to be honest. At first I thought I saw the face of Barack Obama. Not gonna lie. War profiteering. That's a loaded word from the past that perhaps shouldn't be tossed about today. But the military-industrial complex that Dwight Eisenhower warned against is more powerful than ever. Military-industrial complex. That sounds more like a libertarian lingo than conservative lingo. I'm wondering if the American conservative is really conservative. Just saying. That Dwight Eisenhower warned against is more powerful than ever, contributing mightily to America's perpetual military interventions and meddlesomeness in the Middle East, Africa, and Europe. This has devastated the U.S. Treasury, destabilized important regions of the world, increased the chances of war, and introduced tensions into our policies, all to little effect in terms of American power. Perhaps Trump's decisions to pull U.S. troops out of Syria and cut in half the U.S. military presence in Afghanistan will signify a presidential resolve to pull back on American military adventurism and take on the military-industrial complex. If so, great, but he has lost valuable time on this project. All right. Class antagonism. By this, FDR meant the business and industrial elites who, he implied, looked down on the little guy. At that time, those business and industrial elites were firmly embedded in the Republican Party. But today, the party of the elites is the Democratic Party. Big finance, big government, the tech sector, the big nonprofits and foundations, the national news media, Hollywood, and public employee unions, which I can overall agree with that statement. Many within these sectors have manifested a class antagonism toward Americans who don't see the world as they do on such issues as immigration, trade, gender questions, political correctness, and more. This antagonism can be seen in Hillary Clinton's famous basket of deplorables statement, uttered before a large Hollywood crowd that reacted with a great affinity. Trump has not ignored this antagonism and has tossed back, Trump has not ignored this antagonism and has tossed back much animosity of his own, but he has not effectively framed the issue of the elites and their alienation from the sensibilities of traditional American society. The ordinary folks who once thrived in the Democratic Party, another missed opportunity. Other presidents who have sputtered in the first 2 years have gone on to correct their course and become two-term executives. Bill Clinton and Barack Obama come to mind. It isn't too late for Trump to do that, but only if he develops political skills not yet seen. End of article. Yeah, I do have to say that, okay. I will say for this article, that's a bit of a clickbaity title right there. It says how Trump's first 2 years might have been a success, but at the same time, the article is doing nothing but criticizing Trump. But I agree overall with those criticisms that the American conservative brings up. And I will say that despite a clickbaity title, that it was an interesting read nonetheless. And I will have all these articles that I'm reading linked down in the description box below if anybody wants to come back to this stream and look at the sources that I'm reading at any point in the future. Heartless Soyboy says, conservatism is everywhere. We got the corporatists, the constitutionalists, the neocons, the conservatarians, and the anarcho-conservatives. The conservatarians, like myself, Soyboy. And by the way, I will say that conservatarian is just a short way of saying conservative libertarian, which means I'm more of a conservative by adjective. I'm not so much of a conservative by my main political identity. My main political identity, I will say, is libertarian overall. But if somebody was to go ahead and call me conservative, I won't get like super triggered over it or anything like that. That shift says, and who could forget the teabaggers? You mean the Tea Partiers? I mean, as far as Tea Partiers go, they've pretty much gone off the grid. Like, nobody thinks about Tea Partiers anymore ever since the late points of Barack Obama's presidency. I mean, I guess it's mostly because the Tea Partiers have like separated into two camps, the Ted Cruz camp and the Donald Trump camp. Tea Partiers, yes, says Night Shift. Okay. All right, so reading an article from My Two Cents' own website, we shall, and Night Shift says, yeah, that's true. All right, thanks. Reading from Night Shift's own website here, he has an article released talking about Prager University and their hypocrisy on government. Before I begin this article, let me quickly say that Prager University has put out some very good videos in the past, particularly regarding basic economics. And I will say that their video where they had Christina Hoff Sommers on and they were talking about the gender wage gap, that was like one of the best videos of PragerU, excuse me. And I've yet to see a debunkery video on that issue. Like, there are lots and lots of debunkery videos towards PragerU, say, on the issue of atheists and morality, the history of the Democratic Party and how racist they are, the definition of socialism and democratic socialism. But never have I seen a response video to PragerU on the gender wage gap. I guess it was just that solid. Although, then again, if you believe in the gender wage gap, well, then good luck in trying to defend your position on that. Soyboy says, can you link me to my 2 cents article? You know what? I'm just going to go ahead and link this article in the live chat right now. But like I said, I will link these articles down in the description box of this video in post. All right, and we have back our co-host, S-Man Speaks.
Yeah, it turns out it was a really short trip, but got done with that, and that's pretty much all you need to know. So what the hell have I missed out on?
Well, I just got done with reading this article, and okay, so you're with me on the first half. The last half, I got on finding out that it's a bit of a clickbaity article. Like, the title of this article does not align very well with the actual substance said in the article, because it was nothing but criticisms towards Trump. Criticisms that I agree with, by the way, but it was still kind of misleading how they were saying how Trump's first 2 years might have been a success, even though they were not talking about the plausible successes of Trump's presidency, was the only one. There are only like a handful that I can count like on one hand of successes that Trump has had, like repealing the not minimum wage. Yeah, we wish, right? He would repeal the minimum wage, but repealing the individual mandate and allowing offshore oil drilling again. At least to me. But anyway, continuing on with this 2 cents article. That being said, on many occasions, I've been downright disgusted with material that the platform has put out. Besides endorsing opportunist frauds like Candace Owens, Prager University routinely endorses using government force to achieve ends it sees as in the common interest of Americans, i.e. collectivism. However, like most statists, they never really explain why the government is justified in using force to achieve their desired ends, but not the ends of their leftist opponents. All right. Earlier today, Prager University released a video that was hosted by General Chuck Wald. The video sought to explain why America spends so many tax dollars on the state of Israel and why it ought to spend more. Oh, God. I'm sorry. I lean more towards Israel's side than Palestine's side in that conflict, but I do not really see as to how or why America really needs to, give subsidies to Israel, much less more subsidies.
I honestly don't give a damn about the Israel issue. I think that the United States should have never been involved with determining what goes to who and whatnot. That was just not our place.
Well, I don't really give a damn in the aspect that I don't think America should really have a play in that conflict, as of right now anyways. But it's still an interesting topic for me to read about, nonetheless. And I will still give at least my verbal support to Israel and their conflict against Palestine in particular. All right. The video is below for those interested, but to sum it up, Wald argues that America ought to provide funding to Israel because it is a peaceful, democratic ally in the Middle East. Funding Israel serves both Israeli and American national security interests. Okay. I will not be arguing whether or not General Wald's assertions in this video are true or false. Wald could very well be correct in his assertion that money given to Israel will help achieve ends that are beneficial to both Israel and the United States. However, even if his assertions are true, the pertinent question is, should Americans be required to give their hard-earned money to the government of Israel, whether they like it or not? If we were having a discussion about abortion, I have no doubt that Dennis Prager and his team would speak out aggressively against it. In fact, you don't have to imagine. Leela Rose of Live Action has previously done a video for Prager University about Planned Parenthood. And in the course of her video, she emphasized the injustice of the fact that Americans are forced to fund Planned Parenthood whether they want to or not. However, comparing Rose's video to Wald's puts Prager University in an interesting position. On one hand, they argue that American citizens should not be forced to give money to an organization like Planned Parenthood against their will. However, they turn around and argue that Americans should be forced to fund the military activities of Israel whether they want to or not. Yeah, because I will say that it is one thing. Okay. I mean, Israel doesn't directly affect the American people, but an issue like, say, illegal immigration, like in the case of somebody wanting border control, that more directly affects the American people, and it would be more understandable and easily arguable for somebody to argue for border control as opposed to giving financial support to Israel or whatever. Soy Boy says every time someone criticizes Israel, they're called anti-Semite, like you can't criticize governments. Yeah, I think that's definitely being hyperbolic and overplaying the issue. And I will say that is definitely something that I generally hear about Ben Shapiro. And if he is calling people anti-Semitic just for criticizing Israel, he should stop. Ben, chill, take a chill pill. That just says, not the hugest fan of PragerU. Okay. Starting over. Not the hugest fan of PragerU was they are largely right-wing, and apparently as an atheist, I'm a bloodthirsty, murdering rapist. Better watch out. Yeah. I mean, I don't even have to watch the response videos to PragerU's video to conclude that it's pretty much ridiculous. I mean, S-Man, yeah. S-Man is an atheist, and I believe him to be totally moral, and he's so moral to the point that he thinks that kids should be protected from little kid diddlers by any and all means possible.
I mean, I do support capital punishment for, people who commit, child rape, so, yeah. Which, by the way, everyone, it was legal to put people on death row for that 11 years ago. I didn't know that until a couple years ago.
Soy Boy also says Ben Shapiro called Ron Paul anti-Semite for criticizing Israel. Yeah, I don't agree with that. There's if a person was to go down the litany of things regarding Ben Shapiro and we go point by point, you could probably point quite a few things that I would disagree with him on. Actually, the one video that he did for PragerU talking about criticizing American media of how influential it was supposedly for getting the American public to disagree with Bush more.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty off base. I don't think that you needed TV shows to show to people of how disapproving Bush really is.
Yeah.
Okay, one curious question that I have for you, since we're kind of on this S-Man. I mean, I don't know. It might be irrelevant, but do you at all still like Ben Shapiro?
I don't really have much of an opinion on him now. I just, I don't dislike the guy. I just think that sometimes he can be really fucking annoying. And then there are times I think, he made a good point. I especially love how angry he made Progressive Voice on healthcare. That, I had a good fucking laugh. And I also loved how angry he got Progressive Voice when Progressive Voice, the basic white bitch he is, he's like, bake the damn cake, bake the damn cake.
Okay, so the healthcare video, link me that, because I would like to see that, and I'll probably put it on my watch later list on the list of videos that I want to respond to Progressive Voice on.
All right. Also, I finally figured out what context you said. You were quoting Night Shift 10,000 when it says, "Not the hugest fan of PragerU was they are largely right wing, and apparently as an atheist, I'm a bloodthirsty, murdering rapist. Better watch out." That had me fucking laugh. Night Shift. So and I didn't realize DarkCon was quoting you, so I was like, wait, what?
Oh.
Also, I heard next week PragerU is going to feature the former Prime Minister of Canada explaining why Trump won, which that's a fucking dead topic. I just it's I mean, it's pretty obvious as to why he won. I think everyone realizes it, whether they agree with why he won or whatever.
People search up on YouTube why Trump won, and you will come up with dozens or even hundreds of videos talking about it already. It's a dead market. You cannot milk that cow anymore.
Yeah, you'll be able to.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's like, everyone knows why he won. It was the economic anxiety. Now I can't cause another person to make another video about that fucking dead topic.
All right. However, comparing Rose's video to Wald's puts Prager University in an interesting position. Wait, I think I already read that paragraph. Never mind. Tell me, Prager University, why is the government justified in using force to make American citizens fund the state of Israel, but not the activities of Planned Parenthood? My guess is that their answer would be that Planned Parenthood is a deceptive and immoral organization. Oh, excuse me. That caught me by surprise. My guess is that their answer would be that Planned Parenthood is a deceptive and immoral organization responsible for the murder of millions of unborn children, while Israel is a free democracy whose furthered existence benefits all Americans. Yeah, in what way? I mean, I know 2 cents is like quoting of what PragerU would be saying, but how would they benefit all Americans? I mean, if somebody was to actually say that, I would probably get a little bit of a chuckle. I'm sorry, my conservative brethren, but anyway. However, if we were having a discussion with a liberal, they would undoubtedly tell you just the opposite. The liberal would say that Israel is an oppressive apartheid regime that cruelly abuses the Palestinian people, which I would slightly disagree with that. While Planned Parenthood is a just organization that provides health care to women and leads to lower crime rates in America. There is no doubt that there are many people who agree very strongly with Prager University or with the liberal in my example above. But that's the point. While many people disagree about what the government should do with its power, they all agree that the government should have the power to force its citizens to fund things against their will. This is why I have over and over reminded people that the same government that has the power to give you everything you want is the government that has the power to take everything that you have. I'll say again that my purpose in writing this article is not to argue against the state of Israel or to argue for Planned Parenthood. I've made my stance on abortion very clear in this video series, and I've on occasion touched on the Israel-Jewish question. However, the problem that Prager University does not seem to realize is that when you argue that the government should have the power to force its citizens to fund endeavors they disagree with, what consistent argument are you going to give as to why it is unjustified in pointing a gun at you and forcing you to fund something you disagree with? As much as I deplore anti-Semitism, I do not think anti-Semites should be forced to give their money to fund the activities of Israel. As much as I deplore many forms of Zionism, I do not think Zionists should be prevented from donating their money to Jewish causes. Regardless of how strongly you may believe you are right in your assertions, whatever position you take, you must first justify why it is that you and people who disagree with you are justified in using force against others, but those who disagree with you are not. Which that is like quite a few hoops to jump through, I'll say. While I share the same values as many of my conservative friends, this is a question I believe all conservatives seriously need to consider. I believe once they do, they will see that libertarianism is the only position that can be consistently lived out in society. All statists want to use force against others. They just don't want others to use force against them. I hope you can see the problem. And that's my 2 cents. Take it for what it's worth. So it's like
you get a copyright strike for using that.
Okay. No. I have to imitate his voice octave for octave.
Oh, God.
And that is my 2 cents. So take it for what it's worth. I don't know. That's probably a not very good impersonation. Hello, everyone. This is my 2 cents, and welcome back to... Okay, whatever.
You saw what I wrote.
Oh, isn't he Asian? Asks S-Man. Huh.
Yeah. Okay. First of all, you didn't have to read that out loud, and two, it's slight. It's a slight accent he has.
Sorry. Night Shift says, I kind of agree. Well, I do gotta say, S-Man, his avatar does kind of resemble an anime character, in my opinion. Oh man, and now S-Man wants to kill 2 cents. Oh boy. Now that I pointed that out. S-Man, you better not. You bastard. I know that you hate anime that much, but you don't need to hate 2 cents just for having an anime-esque type avatar.
I will give him I have 2 pennies in my pocket. I will give him those 2 pennies if he makes a video called #Banime, like in an ANCAP society. In an ANCAP society, Banime takes effect. Because anime violates the non-aggression principle. It violates it violates the private property rights of my eyes. Like I have to. It violates everyone else's private property rights since I have to steal someone's bleach to pour it in my eyes.
Oh man, that would be the perfect parody video for 2 cents to make. Okay. Night Shift says, "You killed my 2 cents, you bastard!" And he also says that my voice is too deep. I love getting compliments on how deep my voice is.
And now DarkCon's gonna get a big head.
Yeah. I kind of agree with that. Planned Parenthood, Night Shift says, I kind of agree with that. Planned Parenthood is a shitty organization and they shouldn't be receiving government funds or any funds that they can't get on their own. Yeah. And I must emphasize, everybody, that Night Shift is he is a pro-choicer. Like, legally speaking. Just FYI. Which has a bit of a predicament there, is the issue of abortion and how that could come in conflict with the non-aggression principle in both ways. But at the same time, not having a government to help with the NAP and abortion. But that's a live stream for another time. You want to hear a deep, sexy voice? Brad Jones, he says.
Oh, I didn't realize you said that because I was about to leave this hangout if DarkCon tried to do a deep, quote-unquote, sexy voice.
Personally, I'm pro-life. Politically, I am pro-choice, says Night Shift. I have mixed feelings on abortion, says Soy Boy. All right, so on with the final argument of today, and then immediately afterward, we will be going, or I will probably be setting up. Okay, actually, I'll probably send out the link at 5:45 or something for the link for the Electoral College stream. Which, by the way, to all those who are watching, which I think it's pretty much just Night Shift and Soy Boy at this point, there is going to be like a live stream at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time where myself, S-Man, I think Don of Two Plebs Talk News, and the Effeminate Degenerate, Richie, the Geekish Gamer Show, and possibly some others will be joining on a live stream talking about the Electoral College. It's not an official debate, although it will probably get kind of debatey at some points. But yeah, check that video out, or check that live stream out. Join in if you want to see that. Anyway, Night Shift says, nice Sylvester Stallone impression there, DarkCon. Dark Com. Night Shift, you bastard. I'm not a commie.
Then he says, DarkCon. God, I hate autocorrect.
Yes.
You poor bastard. Autocorrect is statism.
Yo, Adrian! I did it!
What the fuck?
You are the disease, and I'm the cure. Just whip out a whole bunch of Sylvester Stallone quotes. Let's see, another one. Live for nothing, or die for something. That's from Rambo 4, by the way. I can't think of that many quotes from Sylvester Stallone movies. Anyway, enough of that nonsense.
The cringe, DarkCon. The cringe.
Oh, come on. How about you try to do a actor's impersonation yourself, bitch?
Nah, I just have some decency.
Okay. Oh god. Nacho says, "Oh my god, I never thought about that. Dark calm. I'm holding on to that one now." Soyboy says, "Today I was kicked out of Esoteric Entity Discord server for pretending to be an anarcho-status, but then he added me back." Soyboy, you really should have saved that for April Fools. That would have been perfect for that. But anyway, banker says farmers need free markets, not government handouts. All right. Annalisa Leica, or however you pronounce that, like, I'm gonna say she looks kind of crazy. Just saying.
She looks like a fucking crazy cat lady.
Oh man, this is a pretty short article, but probably a good thing because I'm getting kind of tired right now. Although, is it me or is this video displayer like blocking most of this paragraph right here? Damn it!
Whoever did that, they're communist.
Dadgummit. Shitty computer programmers are communists. It's official.
Also, anybody who likes anime is officially a communist, and if you like pineapple pizza, you automatically are a Hillary Clinton supporter.
Nacho says Dark Khan's evil clone, arch nemesis Dark Khan, the Dark Commie. Wow, that'd be awesome. Actually, red versus blue. The Dark Anarchist, S-Man says, and Nacho says hiding the truth from the reader. I see.
Twitter thinking emoji.
Yes, exactly. Anyway, following President Trump's tariff aid package announcement on Tuesday, farmers, bankers, and industrial leaders alike have said they'd rather have better access to free markets than government payments. Wait a minute. The cutting room floor, Two Plebs Talks News. Oh, damn it. I hope Two Plebs was remembering the live stream, or was he not even planning to really join that stream? I don't know.
IDK Darkcon, IDK. Well, maybe he's probably doing a quick episode. Who knows?
I don't know. That just says, I like older anime stuff, but I'm not a fan of newer stuff. All right. S-Man thinks that you are therefore a fascist, no matter what kind of anime you like.
Harry, 2 nukes wasn't enough. Truman needs to be revived. He bombed anime majority countries. I think he hashtag Truman did nothing wrong.
According to Alan Hoskins, an ag lender, it's too soon to know if the president's $12 billion aid package will be beneficial. However, he says it's clear that aid isn't something farmers want. Wow.
Well, he fucked them over anyway with the tariffs. And
wow. Okay. He knows that farmers don't want that, but he's gonna go for that solution anyway, quote unquote solution.
He wants a wall. He wants a wall when nearly 60% of Americans don't want a wall. So this isn't. This is just typical behavior from Trump.
I think I recall that being a little bit more narrower, but the poll numbers and approval of a wall, but yeah. Anyway, that's just some grade A narcissism on Trump's part right there regarding farmers. They want free market to be able to make a profit by selling grain, not by giving excuse me. They want free market to be able to make a profit by selling grain, not by giving a handout from the government, he says. The program is likely to provide an influx of cash for producers growing certain commodities, a welcome relief for cash-strapped farmers heading into renewal season. All right. Oh, wait, no. They were saying he says it's clear that aid isn't something farmers want. They're referring to Alan Hoskins. Oops. Okay. I misread that paragraph. Forget what all I said there, folks. I thought they were talking about Trump knows that farmers don't want it, but he's giving it to them anyway. Oops. darktism.
Darky Con.
Yeah. The program is likely to provide, cash flow looks like is going to be tight this year, Hoskins says. So definitely there's going to be some challenging conversations, but it's not something to be feared by the producers. It's just something that we need to do to work together to try to figure out the solutions that are going to help them. There's too many ifs about the program, he says. Fortunately, Cox did some grain hedging and won't be subject to price issues in the near term. According to Hoskins, not all farmers are like Cox, and many are wide open to market volatility at this point. In many cases, not everyone has done what Michael did in making sure that there were some good contracts out there. He says adding these payments will be important to them. The program isn't officially slated to launch until September 1st, and payments won't be calculated for most crops until harvest is finished. Unfortunately, for some producers, September might be too late. End of article. And I realized that was the most jarring reading of an article that I had ever done, but screw it. Sorry to my audience, and I'm sorry to S-Man for putting you all through such pain.
Yeah, officially, everyone, I vote to I vote to deport Dark Khan to Islam Marxistan so he has to deal with Owen's oppressive rule.
Oh god, he'll be especially oppressive to me as he just has me in a cage to be mocked by, more specifically himself, but even his followers, just saying you're against bodily autonomy, and no matter how many times that I say it, they're going to keep on repeating it over and over again until I literally want to rip my ears off.
Dark Khan is against bodily autonomy.
I am not.
You are, you fascist.
I am not, you dolt.
You called me a dolt. That is ableist.
And you've called me a dolt, Owen? You unself-aware cuck. You unself-aware cuck.
Oh, Dark Khan. My Twitter account was hacked by Esmon. You and Esmon are far-right extremists. Hell, if you and Esmon took political compass tests, you both would be to the right of Hitler. Hitler, everybody. Dark Khan actually is Hitler's great 25 grades later great grandson, and everybody knows that capitalism is the enemy of video games, and everybody ought to listen to me, a black person. No matter what nuclear takes I make, we will make Islam Marxistan great again.
Night Shift asks, do they want that or not? Well, according to Hoskins, they don't want government handouts. Sorry that I wasn't so clear on that, Night Shift. But anyway. Soy Boy says, being a communist violates the nap. S-Man says, commies need to take a nap. Indeed. A long nap. Night Shift also says, best Starship Troopers movie ever was a 6-part anime OVA released in 1988. I'm actually still in the middle of watching that. I just finished part 2. I need to start watching part 3 now. Someone needs to make a video on Border-tarian Lauren Southern. There's actually already a... Never mind. I was going to talk about a video that was actually done by Wench Michaelis. Does Owen even have a job? Asks Soy Boy. He says supposedly that he has a part-time job. Although I only give him the benefit of the doubt on that. I don't know if that's absolute for certain, Soy Boy. Wait, Owen is a Muslim?
Everybody, I argued for atheism on that one fat Tubble Lord's YouTube channel he deleted, and I want everybody to know that I will accuse you of Islamophobia if you point out Islam is a rapist death cult. And Dark Khan has a mug that says "Don't tread on me," but .con, what if I want my wife's boyfriend to tread on me?
Like the mug, all my libertarian brethren.
Damn right, motherfucker.
Well, I know you like it. I was asking all the ANCAPs, thank you.
Wow, DarkCon. Someone's a bit salty today. Do you have a mug full of salt in there?
No, I'm just being a rude hard ass to you.
The tism is strong with this one.
I'm just being an asshole.
I know.
One more thing on the anime front. Have you ever seen Akira, S-Man? Yeah, your argument is invalid.
Never seen Akira, and I think I'm just better off not seeing it.
I'm going to say right now, Night Shift actually looks like an anime character, minus being animated. It's literally the only anime that begins with a biker war in the streets of Tokyo and ends with the beginning of the fucking universe.
Can we just have like the only anime I'll ever endorse is one where it shows communists like getting dunked on for the memes.
Yes, it's magnificent. Well, thank you, Night Shift. Yep, great mug, says Soy Boy. All right, it's man time on DarkCon stream. Well, actually, it's about end time because I need to like unwind just a little bit before we actually get started on the next stream. But again, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Be talking about the S-Man just randomly left. Anyway, yes, I will have a whole litany of other people to talk about the Electoral College, and I don't know. I guess if more people want to join, if they actually have anything that they want to say about the Electoral College, Night Shift, maybe for example, then I can invite you. But I don't know if it's really your type of stream, in all honesty, Night Shift. But send the request, and if I have room, I will definitely have you on. But I have some other people that I think would be a little bit more interested in joining. But anyway, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, live stream discussion on the Electoral College here on the Dark Conservatarian YouTube channel. That's all I have to say about the news. See y'all later. Have a good night. Until 6 p.m. See you later, and God bless.